You hate it. You've said so out loud more than once. Sighs. And yet, here you are again. Same app, same person, same habit you swore last week you were done with. This isn't weakness. It isn't a lack of self-control either, even though that's what it feels like at 2 in the morning when you're doing the exact thing you promised yourself you'd stop doing. There's something specific happening inside your brain that makes this possible, and once you see it clearly, it stops being confusing and starts being something you can actually work with. By the end of this, you'll understand why hating something has almost nothing to do with whether you keep doing it, why your brain doesn't actually run on pleasure the way you think it does, and what genuinely helps you build distance from something that stops serving you. Here's the part almost nobody explains properly. Dopamine isn't the chemical of pleasure. That's the popular version, and it's wrong in a way that matters a lot here. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. It fires before the reward, not during it. It's the signal that says something might be coming, not something good is happening right now, which means you can feel the pull of a habit at full strength, even while the habit itself is actively making you miserable. The anticipation and the actual experience are two completely separate systems, and only one of them cares whether you're enjoying yourself. Think about the thing you hate, but keep doing. Maybe it's a person who's bad for you. Maybe it's an app that leaves you feeling worse every single time. Maybe it's a habit you've caught yourself doing on autopilot. Already halfway through it, before you even notice you started. Notice that the pull doesn't happen after you feel good. It happens before you know how you're going to feel at all. That's dopamine doing its actual job, which was never to reward you. It was to make sure you keep checking. There's something else going on here too, and it explains why this feels so specifically stubborn. Your brain doesn't build habits around outcomes. It builds them around patterns of uncertainty. If a habit gave you the exact same result every single time, good or bad, your brain would eventually stop caring about it entirely. Predictability is boring to a dopamine system, but if the outcome is unpredictable, sometimes it feels good, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes there's a small win buried in mostly bad experiences. That unpredictability is exactly what keeps your brain checking back in. This is the same mechanism behind slot machines, and it's also, quietly, the mechanism behind a lot of relationships, apps, and habits you'd swear you hate. Here's something even more interesting. The things you hate the most often have the strongest pull, precisely because of how much emotional intensity is wrapped around them. Your brain doesn't clearly separate, "this made me feel something big," from "this was good for me." Intensity gets misread as importance, so a habit that causes you real pain can still feel more magnetic than something calm and healthy, simply because pain registers as more urgent, more significant, more worth paying attention to than something quiet and steady ever will. This is also why willpower alone rarely works here, and it's worth being honest about that instead of pretending it's simple. You're not fighting a lack of discipline. You're fighting a system in your brain that evolved specifically to notice unpredictable, emotionally charged patterns, and refuses to let them go quietly, regardless of whether you've consciously decided they're bad for you. Let's slow down on one specific version of this, because it's probably the clearest example there is. You open an app you genuinely resent, before you even unlock your phone. That scrolling through it makes you feel worse afterward. Comparison, irritation, a strange kind of emptiness once you finally put it down. And yet, the moment there's nothing else demanding your attention, your thumb is already moving toward it, almost before you've decided anything at all. That gap between knowing something is bad for you and doing it anyway isn't a character flaw. It's the space where dopamine operates, entirely separate from judgment, entirely separate from whether you actually like what's about to happen. The app isn't designed around making you happy, it's designed around making you check. Those are two very different goals, and only one of them needs your consent. So, what actually helps? Here's how to use everything you just learned. Real steps, not vague advice about willpower. Step 1. Stop trying to want it less and start making it harder to access instead. Your brain's pull toward this thing isn't going to weaken just because you decide it should. But friction works, reliably, even when motivation doesn't. Delete the app instead of just avoiding it. Physically remove the object instead of promising yourself you won't touch it. Distance beats discipline almost every time. Step 2. Interrupt the pattern of unpredictability on purpose. If part of what keeps you hooked is not knowing what you're going to get, replace it with something completely predictable instead. A boring, reliable routine doesn't give your dopamine system anything interesting interesting to grab onto, which is exactly why it works, even though it feels anticlimactic while you're doing it. Step 3. Name the anticipation the moment you feel it, separately from the outcome. Say to yourself, "This is the pull, not the payoff." This one sentence creates just enough distance to let you notice you're being pulled before you've already acted on it. Step 4. Replace the habit, don't just remove it. Your brain doesn't like empty space where a pattern used to be. If you only take something away without giving your dopamine system anywhere else to go, you're far more likely to relapse back into the exact same loop. Find something else with its own small, unpredictable reward, a new hobby, a new person, a new project, and let it compete for the same attention. Step 5. Expect the pull to return, especially early on, and don't treat its return as failure. Dopamine systems don't get retrained in a single decision. They get retrained through repetition, over weeks, sometimes months. Every time you notice the pull and don't act on it, you're not failing at quitting, you're actually doing the work of quitting in real time, whether it feels like progress or not. One more thing worth saying clearly here, this isn't about becoming someone who feels nothing, who's immune to pull, who never wants anything intensely again. That's not the goal, and honestly, that would be its own kind of problem. The goal is just making sure the things pulling at you are actually worth being pulled toward, instead of pulling you back into something you've already told yourself, more than once, that you hate. It's also worth saying, plainly, that this process isn't linear. You'll go a week without the pull, and then it'll show up stronger than ever, out of nowhere, on a random Tuesday for no clear reason. That's not evidence the work isn't working. Dopamine systems don't decline in a straight line. They decline in a jagged one, with genuine progress hiding underneath what looks, on the surface, like a setback. Now, before you go, I want to say this to you directly. You are not weak for going back to something you know is bad for you. You are not lacking discipline for struggling here. Your brain is doing exactly what dopamine systems have always done, going back millions of years before any of this technology, any of these habits, any of these people existed at all. You inherited a system built for survival, and it's simply misfiring on modern targets it was never designed to handle. You don't need to hate yourself for the pull, you need to understand it, because once you see clearly that the thing keeping you hooked was never really about how good it felt, and always about how uncertain it kept you, you stop fighting yourself in the dark, and you finally start fighting the actual mechanism, in the light. And that, more than any amount of willpower ever could, is what finally starts to change things. If this helped you understand yourself a little better, that's exactly why this channel exists. Every week, we break down the psychology behind the things you feel, but can't always explain. Hit subscribe, because the next video might explain the part of you that this one didn't. And if you want more of this, your next watch is right there on screen.